Well, welcome back to Lucore Automotive Services. Today we're going to work on the Barracuda some more. We finally figured out what our problem was, and it's not necessarily a parts problem, and it's not necessarily an installer error. So if you want to figure out what we have to deal with, stick around. Well, we've burned a lot of my brain cells on this car. As it turns out, we finally got a hold of ATK, and when we spec'd this engine, we spec'd it with a standalone, ready-to-run MSD distributor. And when we got a hold of the guys at ATK, I spoke to him about the distributor, and I'm like, I can't get spark out of the distributor, but I can get it out of other ones that are ready-to-run distributors. And he said, yeah, that distributor needs to be run with a MSD 6AL box. And I'm like, well, that's not what we ordered. He's like, well, that's what we offer. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. So the answer to my problem is that the distributor we spec'd and thought we were working with is not the distributor that we spec'd and thought we were working with. So I'm going to pull this MSD distributor out of here. This is not a standalone ready to run. I mean, it's ready to run with a 6AL box, but we didn't want to put a 6AL box or an ignition controller in this car, which is why we wanted a ready to run. So we opted, since we got to buy another distributor, we decided to call the guys at ACES, and they sent us a distributor. I'm going to get it out of the box here in a minute. It looks like it's a pretty good piece. And the nice thing about using their distributor is there isn't a vacuum pod on it. There isn't a vacuum pod on it because the computer is going to use the map sensor to adjust timing. At least that's what they said. But I'm also putting it on lockout, so I'm not sure that makes sense. But we'll figure that out later. We'll figure that out. I'm not sure how that works because I'm not the guy who engineered it. But they said lock out the distributor, set your base timing, and then set it up. So that's what we're going to do. Luckily for me, I believe my distributor is going to, my distributor cap is going to work on their distributor because it appears to be the same style cap and same hold downs as the MSD, which is good. That means I don't have to rebuild my spark plug wires again. Right now I just want to make sure our computer is seeing its spark signal, which I know it will because I was able to make it see the points distributor, which we don't want to use, although we could outfit that with a Protronics kit and then we would have a standalone distributor. But there's a VR plug on the harness for this, and that VR plug is a 2-pin plug, and it plugs right into the distributor. And that's about as easy of a hookup as you can do. So let's get this thing set up. Alright, that guy looks pretty good. It fits our black and silver program we're going with. Same style cap, same style rotor. Magnetic pickup. Let's see if the rotor is indexed to the same. That out of there, and I'm not going to be using my tack pickup wire anymore. Drive shafts look to be at the same index. I can't see a thing back there. I need some light. One of my little Cyclops fellas. Alright. We got our 2-pin connector, we got our 2-pin VR connector. Let's hook those guys together. cap back on. So we'll have to set ignition timing. And lock our cap down. And hopefully that will solve our problem. Alright, now I'm going to go back through and reset up my my wizard, because through this ordeal I heard a bunch of different things and tried a bunch of different things, so I'm just going to wipe it and start over. We are using the ACES EFI Kill Shot. This is a 100-pound fuel injector. 4 fuel injectors, 2 in the front bowls, 2 in the rear bowls, capable of 600 horsepower if I remember correctly. In fact, let me go get the spec sheet, because I have a spec sheet, and that way I won't be misquoted. So just a moment. Alright, so if you are not... Oh, I was wrong. 650 horsepower. So, the Kill Shot throttle body EFI system from ACES EFI is, from what I've seen so far, a pretty nice unit. We've had some difficulties getting it to operate, but it wasn't a fault of ACES, and it wasn't a fault of MSD. It was a compatibility issue with the two, if that makes sense. Basically, the distributor that we have has to have a 6AL box for it to operate properly. And that's not what we were going for with this car. So we did source the ACES distributor. The Kill Shot system is a 4150 flange carburetor style. 400-pound fuel injectors. It's got integrated throttle position sensor, 3-bar map, and intake air temperature sensors. Supports systems up to 650 horsepower. It does have integrated timing, ignition control, and a coil driver. I'll have to look and see if the ignition timing control is... I think that's a separate controller in this setup, but I'm still learning these systems, so I'm still trying to figure all this stuff out. There's a lot going on with all of these electronic fuel injection systems. And my brain's mush right now, just from stress. But we're going to just keep powering through it, because that's what we do. Easy to install design. Easy to use calibration wizard. It is. It's very simple to get started. Adaptive self-tuning strategy for idle and fuel control. High quality Bosch 4.9 wideband O2 sensor. Dual electric fan controls, which we're not using because we wanted the look of a mechanical fan. I also like mechanical fans, but that's me. High resolution 5-inch full color touchscreen handheld. CAN communication for handheld controller. Available finishes: black ceramic, classic gold, and polished. So lots of options. Pretty nice system. Let me put my hold down on my Dizzy and snap my clips. And we'll kick this thing in the guts, and I bet we're going to have RPM now. Alright, let's try this again. So once again, it's important to know what you're working with. In my case, I thought I was working with something that I was not. So we power up clean. We're going to reset up our wizard. We are using a Kill Shot, which is 650 horsepower, 100-pound injectors. Kill Shot Classic is a 400 horsepower with 65-pound injectors. Mild cam, yes. No choices for that. We're going to go coil negative for initial setup and see if that works. 4 injectors, 100 pound per hour, 360 cubic inch, 730 RPM for base idle. Let's save that. Do you want to save setting? Yes. Turn key off. Alright, let's see what we have. Let's make sure our new settings took. Alright, so we are on our base tune. Do we have cranking RPM? That's the question. Oh no, what did I do? That was a weird noise. Oh, that was probably injectors firing. Oh, let me change my coil negative to magnetic. That is a magnetic pickup. Yes. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at that. Magnetic pickup. We have ignition. That's exciting. So that means it's time to make sure I have fuel into my command center. Once I have fuel from the mechanical fuel pump up into the electronic fuel module, I will plug in my ground, and then I will have my high pressure. I will check for leaks. Don't appear to have any leaks down here yet, but I also don't know if I have any fuel to it yet, but I'm going to guess we do. I'm going to put the jump pack on this so I know I have good cranking RPM. Let's crank it over a little bit. I'll double check my oil. I'm probably going to have to put more trans fluid in it. I don't have any coolant in it yet. Let's see what we can make happen. Do a 10-second crank. I just did a 10-second crank and it's cranking nicely. My RPM signal is clean. My power to my module and my head unit are clean. I'm not losing power when I'm rolling the key from run to start and back from start to run. That's actually a critical thing that you have to watch out for. Having a proper power supply that lights up your ECU is a critical part, because otherwise you're giving it power, taking it away when you roll that key from run to start, and taking that power away again when you're going from start back to run. And that can cause all sorts of demons, and not just with the ACES system, with any system. I've had to solve that problem on a number of vehicles, and even the mast system that I used on the CJ8, Tim's big old scrambler with the LS swap that I did. That thing, that one had real bad problems with the ECU not wanting to fire with the key roll through issue. Looking pretty good. All my fluids should be where they need to be. Now that I have a nice chrome dipstick. I need a little more oil, but we're good to fire. It's not coming out the bottom, so my oil filter adapter must be sealed up okay. High torque starter sounds like it's rolling it over nice and clean. I should have fuel now, I think. I think we'll go ahead and hook up our ground for our fuel module. See if we can get fuel pressure. Because if we do that, we might be able to actually fire this thing today, which would be amazing. This has been a long time coming. But that's alright. Sometimes stuff worth doing takes time to get it done right. I have a gang ground here. I'm going to go ahead and tie in there. So headlights are tied in there. And looks like maybe the horn. So I'm going to go ahead and tie into that, clean that ground up, make sure my ground's good. Looks like probably 5/16. Alright, clean grounds are critical to proper operation of electrical systems. If you're working with a bunch of dirty grounds, you can't expect an electronic system to work correctly. It's just the reality of what this stuff is. Nice tight ground, clean surface. When I key up, this should fire and charge, assuming I have fuel in it, which I think I do. Hopefully it's not a sprinkler. Hey, look at that, we got pressure. And I don't appear to have any leaks. At least not yet. Let's crank it a little bit and we'll see what happens. It's showing 45, no 50. So it's got 50 psi, so we have fuel to it. My vacuum ports are all capped. I don't have any coolant in it, so if it does fire, I'm going to shut it off pretty quick. Don't believe I have any open vacuum ports, but I might. I'll have to double check that. I'm real happy with how this is turning out. It's looking super good. I'll tidy up some of my wiring, but it's looking pretty awesome. I'm really happy with the final product here. Engine oil's good. I'm going to need to top up my trans. Let's see if it'll pop off. Go, we have fire. Sounds like it's grossly out of time. Don't have any wet fittings on my fuel system yet. So, haha, that makes me happy. Let's put some coolant in this thing. Probably go with some yellow coolant since it's a yellow car. I mean, might as well. Everything else is yellow. That's awesome. Alright, I know you guys want to hear this thing run, but I got one more thing I got to do. Oh man, I need a haircut. Wow. I look like I'm homeless. I want to see, I picked up this fitting and I have the brass fitting that's in the intake that should fit into this. And I'm going to see, because this guy's kind of doubled over on itself, and I'm afraid with the heat cycles it's going to clamp itself off. It probably wouldn't be a big deal, but if I can make this guy give me a little better angle and cut this guy right about there, I think it'll give me what I need to really, one, have it look better, but also function better long term. I'm going to do that real quick. Give me a few minutes, and then I'm going to drop some coolant in her. Some water to keep her cool. And then I'm going to move it over onto the dyno. Alright, so that's an 1 3/8, 7/8 MPT fitting, 45 degree. These are little open-ended wrench set that I bought from Grip. They come in handy, man. I didn't realize I was going to use these as much as I actually am. But that puts my alignment really good between these two. And let's put in our nipple and see if I can make that hose fit better. That's what we ended up with here. Looks like a pretty straight shot. I think think if we cut it right about there, I think we'll be in business. Put it on backwards. It's not going to work that way because it's too high. But if I cut it there, and I think I only have one of these, so if I cut this and it doesn't work, it's going to suck. Because then I'm going to have to wait for a hose. I don't want to wait for a hose. There's got to be a better solution to this, but the better solution would be for this boss to be here and this hole to be there, and then it would work. But that's not what we have, because everything's got to be difficult. I'm going to cut it right there and see what happens. Do or die. Well, I gotta say, I think that's the magic trick right there. It's got a little bit of a squish, but that's in a formed hose point. I think that's going to work. I think it's going to work well. I don't think it's going to collapse on itself, so I think we have a winner. It actually looks okay too. I'm much happier with that. That's the dumb little stuff that takes forever to figure out. But once you get everything dialed in and put together the way you want to, the aesthetic of the final product is so much better. So I'm pretty happy with that. So let's put some coolant in this gold girl. Set our base timing. We're going to shoot for about 34 degrees all in. And I need to look at the distributor. I will probably put the weakest springs in the distributor so that it advances as quickly as possible. But we'll get to that here soon. These distributors are super easy to take in and out because they're just a spline drive. And the gear that goes into the engine stays in there. So Chryslers are super easy to put distributors in and out of. Yeah, I'm stoked, man. That's looking good. Let's put some coolant in this thing. Give her a drink. Richard? Got something grossly off. Double check my plug wire routing. It's pretty close. It's holding coolant. It's holding oil. I don't have any fuel leaks. It runs like poo. It's probably something I did. Let's fix it. Well, that makes me happy, even though it's running poopy. I don't appear to have any leaks yet. That's a plus. I don't think I put the plug wires on wrong, but that's what it runs like. Double check that. I have had this thing apart a number of times. making headway. I gotta figure out why my belt's squeaking so bad. Shouldn't be doing that. Wonder if I have something loose. Maybe. She runs, she revs, she idles. That's a good start. Definitely have some tuning ahead of us. It's actually all the way up into temperature range and goes into closed loop now, so that's good. I do need to set my base timing, which I will probably lock out my ignition timing. The kill shot does have timing control, so I'm probably going to just use the timing control. After I set my base time, which to set my base time, I think I'm going to lock out the timing at 0 so that it's not moving it. It should work, and then I can set my base time at 15. Or set my base time at 0 and then have it dial 15 degrees in. I'll have to read the directions on that one. I'm not sure how they want that set up. But since it has timing control, we might as well use it because it'll make it a better driver. Looks like I've got a little tiny drip coming out of one of my fittings. I may have to pull that back apart. We'll see if we can't do a little trick to get that to seal up. Not seeing any oil leaks, fuel leaks, or power steering leaks yet, so that's a good thing. Showing 50 psi. So I'll call that a win. Double check my fluids. This is where you get like really excited and you want to go out and rip a big old burnout, but you can't do that because the car's not ready. We actually have a customer who just finished getting his engine put together and he went out and ripped a big old launch with it and ended up tumbling the car right out of the builder's shop because it wasn't set up right. The alignment was way out. What is making all that racket out of this belt? Oh, I see it. I see it. Installer error. I have... My belt is off one rib on the compressor. See right there, the belt's off one rib, so I'll fix that real quick. Yeah, we all make mistakes. The key is fixing them. I'm going to call tech support. Well, I'll look up online and then if I have to, I'll call tech support about how they want me to set timing so that I know my base timing is exactly where we want it to be. Because we're using the ACES distributor and we have the kill shot, we can utilize the timing control, which works out great. And I got to figure out why my CVF belt is making such a racket, because it should not be. So maybe I've got something not quite aligned or not quite tight, so I may pop the belt off and double check all my hardware. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. The car's running, it's idling, it's ready to do some learning, and I can figure out my belt squeak. So I'll probably work on that next. Then I'm going to let this thing cool down, double check all my fluids, fix this little water drip that I have, because there's always something that you have to fix. I don't know that you would want to try to do one of these installs over a weekend on your daily driver, but I think the end result's going to be well worth it. Probably get back to work on my chipper, and I got my Jeep moved over into my other garage so I can start working on it, and hopefully be driving my CJ7 this summer, because I miss it. I miss my CJ. So, thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. If you need your modern cars fixed, give us a call. We do actually work on modern cars. That is our basic main services of what we provide here at Lucore Automotive Services. We appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. Have a great day.